Good morning, writers. Today we're going to learn how to make your Dear Paragraph 1 stronger by elaborating on your supporting details. Now, right now, your paragraphs are a little thin because you just have currently a topic sentence, which is your central idea, and 3 details. And today I'm going to teach you strategies that are going to stretch these details and make your writing more interesting and complete. So, by the end of this lesson, friends, you're going to know 5 strategies, 5 different elaboration strategies, and you'll add 1 elaboration sentence to each of your 3 supporting details. Right now, this is what our paragraph would look like if we were to put together what we have, our central idea and those 3 supporting details. Now, that's not bad, but it will be thin. And we haven't even added our concluding sentences yet, so we'll have a total of 4 sentences. We'll add our concluding sentence later. But today we're going to focus on making these 3 supporting details, and I'm going to use my space topic just to model through today how you can do that with your Dare essay. I'm going to show you how I can take these 3 supporting details and make them stronger by adding 1 elaboration sentence after each one. And that will give us a total of 7 sentences if we're counting this one, and then 8 by the time we add our conclusion sentence. And that's what professional writers do. They elaborate on their details. And today, you're going to learn how to do that. So if I'm using this space, my space topic, my subtopic question was, how do scientists study planetary rings? And my central idea is that scientists use several different tools and methods to study planetary rings from Earth and space. So of course, if I'm telling you that they're going to use different methods and tools, then I need to give details about how or to explain that further. And so these 3 supporting details do that, and I'm going to stretch these details out by adding more information. So once again, here are the strategies that we're going to be learning about today. And again, even though I'm not going to be using the Dare topic, I'm going to be using my space topic, you're going to see how the strategy works. Then you will be able to apply that to your Dare essay, and then eventually, of course, to your to complete what you're writing about with your space topic. Okay, you're going to pick 3 of these different strategies to use, 1 for each of your 3 details. And I'm going to show you what each one of them would look like and apply it to what we have here. So my first strategy will be where I add a fact or a statistic to tell the reader more about a particular detail. So if you're using this strategy, then you're adding a fact or statistic that supports it. And my first supporting detail that supports my central idea is that powerful telescopes on Earth allow scientists to observe planetary rings from millions of miles away. And so I'm going to add a fact or a statistic to elaborate or stretch that even more. Immediately after that, I would say, in fact, or I could say, in fact, the Hubble Space Telescope has captured detailed images of Saturn's rings and even discovered new rings around Uranus that were previously unknown. So you see what I did? After my supporting detail, I added 1 sentence with a specific fact. And I used, in fact, to connect it smoothly to that. But I also could have used something like research has found or scientists have found, something like that. Some factual piece of information to connect back to this. In this case, you think, what have I learned in Dare? Did you learn specific facts about drugs or bullying or peer pressure? If whatever your supporting detail is, did you learn a specific fact about that or statistics about that from the book? And if so, you can add 1 fact sentence after your detail that will elaborate or help you stretch that out even more. Now that's one strategy. Another strategy could be ask a question to make the reader think. I'm going to use the same supporting detail, but instead I'm going to show you how it would look if I were to choose a question to make the reader think instead, because you can pick which strategy you would like to go with. So again, staying with the same supporting detail, powerful telescopes on Earth allow scientists to observe planetary rings from millions of miles away. So I have my question. Let's say, can you imagine what scientists could learn if they could send cameras up close to the rings instead of viewing from Earth? And so here I'm adding the question to make the reader curious. Okay, it's just a rhetorical question they're answering in their head, but it engages them, all right, and it gets them thinking more about this. Okay, it could be, can you imagine, or did you know, all right, or have you ever, or what would you do if? You want them continuing to think about this. And this is why we elaborate more, is so you're saying more about that. And so this is not where you just tack on a question. You're really being intentional about what you're asking them to think about even more after you've stated your supporting detail. So that could be an option. So picking the question allows you to help the reader think more deeply about what you've learned, and it draws them in. But maybe you want to go with a different strategy. It just depends on what you're talking about. And so perhaps you want to give a specific concrete example to the reader of what it is. So for this one, I'm going to go with a different supporting detail. All right, just to show you how you can use that one. This one says space probes travel close to planets to study their rings up close and collect detailed data. And so if I want to give a specific example that extends that even more, I would say, for example, NASA's Cassini spacecraft orbited Saturn for 13 years and sent back over 450,000 detailed images of Saturn's rings. So, as you can see there, I just gave a specific situation or a specific example, all right, by saying, for example, painting a picture with my details. You could say, for instance, you could say, for example, here. So if you're telling the reader something, whatever your supporting detail is, you could give them a concrete example that helps to stretch that situation out. Okay? So when you learn something in there, think of a time or a situation when you might use it. You don't have to tell a whole story here. Just a quick, specific example in one sentence. Sometimes you want to show a reader a reaction or how you feel about something, and that definitely can be appropriate when you're thinking about what you're writing about with there, because people are supposed to relate to these kind of things. So you show your reaction or feeling about what it is that you've learned. Okay, so again, using this as a specific example is about space probes traveling close to planets to study their rings up close and collect detailed data. This fascinated me because I didn't realize the spacecraft could stay near a planet for over a decade to study its rings. I realize now this is probably not the strongest example. However, when you are reacting to something, after your reaction, it could be something that surprised you, something I didn't realize, or this made me think about, or this shocked me, this fascinated me, whatever it is, to extend or show your reaction to this particular detail. So that is another strategy that you can use other than maybe a factor statistic or asking a question or a specific example. Then you could go with a reaction or feeling. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to use the strategy of why it matters, or explaining why something matters, and we will use our third supporting detail for that. So in this supporting detail, it says that scientists use instruments called spectrometers to analyze the light reflecting off the rings. And if I'm going to use this strategy, explain why it matters, or why it's important, or what I'm thinking about that, I might say this is important because studying how light bounces off the ring particles helps scientists determine what materials the rings are made of. So in this instance, you've shared something else you've learned, right? In your Dare essay, you're going to stretch out like, why does that even matter? Why is that important? Or how does this helps me because, or because of this, I can, like, you're just kind of showing the importance of this situation, or excuse me, of what it is that you learned here, and then you're explaining it in that sentence that comes right after that. Now, how do you decide which strategy to use? So here's what you'll do. For each one of your 3 supporting details, you're going to pick one elaboration strategy to use to write one sentence. Okay, that means you're going to be picking 3 different strategies today for your paragraph. And one of those strategies you're going to use for each sentence. So this will have one, this will have one, this will have one. You're going to pick the strategy that makes the most sense for each details. And so here's what can help you. All right, you're thinking about which strategy fits best. All right, so if I'm thinking about this particular supporting detail, you're going to think, did I learn a specific fact or statistic? Would a question help engage my reader there? Am I going to give a specific example? Can I give a specific example? Do I have a reaction to this to share? Or can I explain, or do I want to explain why this is important or why it matters? Okay, so you pick one of these strategies to use, but when it's time to go to your second detail or your second supporting detail, which different strategy? Pick one of these you're going to use, but it has to be a different one. Okay, you want a variety of sentences here. Okay, and this is why we're picking 3 different ones so that you can have a variety to choose from. And then you're going to do the same thing with the third supporting detail. Which strategy is going to work for this particular detail? And you'll pick one there. Again, the conclusion sentence, we will add that one later. So by the end of today, you will have tried 3 different strategies, and then your paragraph will have 7 sentences, including your central idea or topic sentence. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. But going through this one more time, here's what you need to do today. Okay? Currently, you just have your boxes and bullets with your central idea and your 3 supporting details. For supporting detail 1, pick one of these strategies that you're going to try. Write one more sentence after this sentence to stretch it or to elaborate it. This is going to go on a separate page as a full paragraph, which I'll show you in a moment. Then for supporting detail number 2, pick a different elaboration strategy and write one full sentence after that. For supporting detail number 3, pick another strategy and write one sentence, one full sentence after that. Once you count your sentences, you should have exactly 7 full complete sentences. That also counts your central idea or your topic sentence. And again, we'll add the conclusion sentence later. Okay? And then once you read your full paragraph out loud, then it should sound complete. Okay? Each detail should have enough information. Let me show you what this is going to look like as a full paragraph, which is what you should have. You're not adding this on your boxes and bullets. You're writing this as a full paragraph on a separate page, including your central idea. So here we are. This is my full paragraph. Once I indented, I added my central idea. That's my topic sentence. It's going to come first. And then the rest of this supports this central idea. Okay? The lighter pink color, those were my 3 supporting details. Everything connects in one full paragraph. And it looks like a lot more, but it's really 7 full sentences. A sentence is not complete until you have the punctuation at the end. Okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, and in black, those are my elaboration sentences that I use to extend it. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll have 8 once I've added my conclusion sentence at the end of this. Okay? You got this. Okay? So you're going to get started on your elaboration. And I'm going to check in with everyone tomorrow when we're back in person, or when we do come back in person. Remember, 7 complete sentences by the end of today's work on a separate page in your writer's notebook. And you're starting off by indenting, and you're starting with your topic sentence that you rewrote on your yellow sticky note. And then from there, you will add your supporting details with your elaboration sentences. Okay? Happy working. I'm going to include this here at the end just so that you can see those strategies on the full screen. Okay? Happy writing.